Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're totally cutting through the hype to look at the hard data behind building a realistic, scalable income stream in 2026. The gig economy right now spans over 435 million workers globally. That's a massive shift. Digital platforms have lowered the barrier to entry so dramatically that almost any skill you have can be monetized. But as you probably know, there's a huge difference between a side hustle that actually builds wealth and one that just drains your energy. So today, we're going to lay out the exact blueprint for getting this right. But why does this actually matter right now? Well, 53%. According to a 2026 survey by the Penny Hoarder, over half of side hustlers say they would literally struggle to cover their basic expenses without that extra money. This tells us something absolutely crucial. The side hustle economy is no longer just a trendy hobby. It is an absolute necessity for millions of people just to make ends meet. It's how people afford an emergency fund, a car payment, or simply keep up with the insane cost of living. But importantly, not every hustle delivers. We need to focus on what actually works. All right, let's just dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We're covering active versus passive income, freelancing versus dropshipping, startup costs, mapping out your first sale, common pitfalls to avoid, and finally, scaling safely.
Section 1. Active versus passive income. Essentially, renting your time versus building a machine.
Before you even think about picking a platform or product, you got to decide what kind of economic engine you actually want to build. Side hustle jobs generally fall into two broad buckets. First, we have active income. This includes things like freelance writing or graphic design, where you're trading time for dollars on a per project or per hour basis. Then, we have passive or semi-passive models, like running an online store. Now, these require a pretty heavy upfront investment of time or money, but they can eventually earn while you sleep. The key difference here is ownership. A second job pays you until you stop showing up. But when you build an online store or an audience, you're building an asset that can grow, be sold, or even spin off multiple income streams down the line.
Section 2. Freelancing versus dropshipping. Let's compare the top models.
So how do these top methods actually stack up against each other? What's really fascinating is the relationship between ongoing effort and realistic earning potential after your first grueling 60 to 90 days. Freelancing, it requires medium to high effort because you're constantly trading time for money, and you're probably capping out around $8,000 a month. Dropshipping, however, takes some effort to set up, but it's a low to medium ongoing effort after that, with a ceiling pushing past $10,000 because your store never sleeps. And just as a quick comparison, content creation has a huge ramp-up effort before you see returns. Honestly, beginners often make under $100 their first month across any of these, but stick with it to month 3, and these numbers become very real targets.
Section 3. Startup costs and risks. The hard reality of reselling.
Now, potential revenue is great, but let's ground this in specific numbers. What does it actually cost to start a reselling business? If you're a complete beginner, you want to be firmly in the lean budget zone. You can start with literally $100 to $500, using retail arbitrage to safely test demand. A standard budget of $1,000 to $3,000 gives you room for initial inventory, a slick website, and some small marketing experiments. But that growth budget of over $5,000, yeah, that's really for wholesale or private labeling, which you should probably only touch once you actually know what you're doing. For beginners, the safest approach is always to start lean. And here is exactly why starting lean is absolutely crucial. Physical inventory is risky. You buy too much upfront, and boom, your cash is trapped in unsold boxes sitting in your garage. Plus, you've got high shipping and packaging costs eating your margins. Or worse, you make the classic mistake of buying products based on what you like instead of what market data says people actually want to buy. This is exactly why models like dropshipping, where you never even touch the inventory, or digital freelancing are such great, safe entry points. You literally bypass all those physical inventory headaches. Section 4. Roadmap to your first sale. Okay, so how do we actually navigate those risks and get to that first dollar? Here is a clear, actionable 4-step roadmap. Step 1. Start lean. Buy a small batch or use dropshipping to test the waters. Step 2. Test demand. Use actual market data, no guessing allowed, to make sure people are actively buying the product. Step 3. Launch across multiple channels. Do not rely on just one sales platform. Sell across different marketplaces and your own site to protect yourself from weird algorithm changes. And step 4. Maybe the most important. Track every single penny. Know your marketplace fees, shipping, and ad costs before you ever set a price. Section 5. Common pitfalls. Mistakes you need to avoid. All right, time to point out the landmines before you step on them. A lot of new businesses fail not because they run out of money, but because of basic operational mistakes. Buying too much inventory up front, huge killer. Underpricing products just to get a sale? Sure, you'll see sales, but your profit margins will literally evaporate once platform fees kick in. Chasing random trends is exhausting and unstable. And neglecting customer service. Bad reviews will sink your repeat business faster than anything else. You have to price competitively while fiercely protecting your margins. And this quote perfectly captures an advanced but super common trap: over-automating. It's from a study on high-frequency trading algorithms where models barely hovering above a 50% accuracy rate just couldn't cover the friction costs of trading. The result? They essentially became zombie agents. They survived, sure, but they bled all their money into platform fees. It's the exact same for your side hustle. If your margins are too thin, your fancy automated ads or dropshipping tools will just act like a vacuum, sucking your hard-earned capital straight into the pockets of the big tech platforms. Always make sure your edge covers the friction.
Section 6. Scaling your income safely to build long-term assets.
So let's say you've navigated the pitfalls. Your hustle is actually making consistent cash. What next? Well, you graduate. You scale into the financial markets. Enter advanced options trading, which is sort of the ultimate graduation into portfolio income. A covered call is basically getting paid a fee or a premium to promise to sell a stock you already own at a specific higher price. If it doesn't hit that price, you keep the stock and you keep the fee as pure income. You're using your side hustle profits to safely generate a whole new layer of yield. Now, you might be wondering, why not just buy regular dividend stocks with that extra cash? Fair question. But here's the catch. When a traditional dividend stock actually pays out to you, the stock price usually drops by that exact dividend amount. It eats right into your principal. Options income, on the other hand, lets you collect that premium without an automatic drop in the underlying asset's value. It's an incredibly smart strategy for folks who want to generate steady cash while protecting their original investment. And what this does is build a remarkably resilient financial machine for you. Think about it. Unlike a rigid second job where you're locked into a fixed hourly wage, leveraging options means you can tweak your exposure and make money whether the market is booming or completely crashing down. It gives you ultimate control over your risk no matter what the economic landscape is doing around you.
Which brings us to our final defining question. Are you building a second job or are you building an asset? Whether you start out freelancing your skills, launching a lean dropshipping store, or using those profits to write covered calls, the ultimate goal is to stop trading your precious time for a capped wage. Start lean, test the market demand, protect those margins, and build a system that